What's going on, everyone, and welcome once again to Mind of Mateo. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. I just got back from Florida the other night. My wife Amanda and I, we went to Panama City just to get a little bit of rest and relaxation in. We got a nice little Airbnb out there and had some time to really relax and just spend time together and slow things down. And it was awesome, man. I can't complain whatsoever. I had so much fun with my wife. We were just kind of chilling inside the Airbnb. We got to take my little Boston Terrier Delilah to the beach for the first time, which is always awesome. Water was a little chilly, so she didn't want to jump into the water, but she loved the sand. She was running around like crazy, little maniac. I love that little girl so much. But I have kind of a big announcement to make. We just posted it on Instagram, so I finally have the okay to actually say it publicly. But my wife and I are going to be having a baby. And the baby looks like it's going to be due end of August. We are so excited. It is really awesome. And to be able to say that I'm going to be a dad, like that's huge. It's crazy. I don't think it's set in just yet. I'm excited. A little bit nervous, but I don't think it really has set in yet. It's getting more real the closer the time gets. And a quick little funny story before I get into today's episode. For some reason, man, I don't know what it was when we found out we were pregnant, or she was pregnant. I mean, I didn't do much, but when we found out that she was pregnant, I started thinking, I'm like, okay, cool. The doctor said August. I'm like, okay, cool. August 2022. Okay, yeah. And I started thinking, I'm like, 2022? Wait a second. It doesn't take 12 months to have a baby. I said, oh, it's August of this year. And I don't know why that was so funny, man. It just hit me. It was one of those moments where it was like a wake-up call. It's like, wow, this thing is happening fast. So yeah, we're expecting end of August is going to be really a fun, exciting time. I'm so excited. And I can't wait to see what this next chapter of our life brings. And we have something that we're working on together as well. I have Mind of Mateo. Amanda's getting ready to launch her Purpose Uncovered channel as well. And then we've got something that we're cooking up in the background as well. That should be pretty fun together. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and get right into today's topic. And what I want to focus on today, I had some discussions with a few people. Most of my episodes, if you can't tell, it's all life experiences. And really, I try to bring in recent things that have happened, right? Because it's one thing for me to just ramble on and on about something, right? It's another thing if I know someone has a need, right? And I can help them with that. And if I know one person has a need, there's definitely going to be other people's that have a similar or the same need, right? So that's kind of why these last few episodes I've been kind of riffing on things, on conversations that I've had in the past week or so. And so this topic is anxiety. Right. There's many different causes of anxiety. I'm not talking about the mental health aspect of it as far as like any kind of mental diseases or traumatic experiences that have caused anxiety or anything like that. I want to talk about anxiety in the form of comparison and anxiety in the form of procrastination, and kind of along that kind of lines. And so I was having a conversation with someone, and they were talking about how they were starting to get anxious just randomly out of nowhere, and it was very serious. I mean, I could see emotionally how kind of shook this person was, how shaken they were, and I started thinking about it, and I got a good conversation, and I said, too many times in life, the culture is, it's fun, it's satisfaction, it's entertainment, right? You too many times we are trying to drown out the negative thoughts, the negative emotions, and everything that we're feeling. We say things like, it's got to be positive thoughts, good vibes only, things like that, and I notice how in culture, anything that doesn't make you feel good, it's looked upon as bad, right? And I think that it's because people they don't understand the possibility, and that there are different outlooks on different things, right? And so I was talking to this person, and I started to break it down. And I have dealt with some pretty some anxious moments. I've had a lot of like kind of anxiety in the background. I remember just an example. I'm all about transparency and all that kind of stuff. So I remember I went to perform down in Miami when I think I was in my early 20s, or maybe like 19. Yeah, like 19 or 20 or something like that. We had flown down, stayed there the weekend. I was there to perform at a club. I wasn't watching myself, and so it was a little chilly out there. I was going in the water and stuff like that. I ended up catching a cold or something, had something going on with my throat. It was all jacked up. So comes that time to perform, right? I get on the stage. They start my track. Right, I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, cool. I had taken a little bit of medicine. I practiced singing right before, so I thought I could get through this performance. Right, I think I had to perform like 4 songs or 5 songs or something like that. Right, 15 seconds into this track, I think I was singing "Let's Play the Game." It doesn't matter, but like 15 seconds into the track, I opened my mouth to sing the first few words of the verse. Voice gives out completely. Man, it was embarrassing, completely embarrassing. Like I can still, I could still feel it right now just talking about it, reliving it, right? To make things worse, it was the venue where the crowd was like right up on the stage, right? So I could hear everything everyone's saying, and it wasn't pretty. Let's just say that. And I remember I was so not sure how to handle that situation, and embarrassed, and I don't know how else to explain it, but I was so filled with emotion, I just ran off stage. Man, I've never had that before. I've never had a point where I've just gone and run off the stage 15 seconds into a set because my voice gave out and I'm cracking like I'm going through puberty again. It was awful. Not only that, I went and locked myself in the bathroom, right? Locked myself in the bathroom, and it wasn't until another performer came into the bathroom to kind of comfort me and tell me everything was going to be okay or whatever. I mean, I really appreciate that guy, but he's got me to go back on stage and introduce the next act, which was my wife at the time. Well, she wasn't my wife at the time, but it's my wife. And so that's something that caused a lot of anxiety. And from that moment on, I shook like my personal view on myself, and I don't know if I performed again after that. I don't know if I did. I may have done a one-off or whatnot, but I remember anytime I set foot on a stage and it was just me, I felt anxious about that, right? And so I had to learn about anxiety and how to handle it, right? And what I've learned is that anxiety is something that you don't want to try and treat with entertainment. You don't want to try and drown it out. You don't want to ignore it. You don't want to try and, mushy emotion it away with positivity and stuff like that. What I found anxiety to be is something that you need to look straight in the eyes and go at it head first, especially when it comes to kind of these different things, because anxiety, in my case, now I'm not a doctor, I'm not any kind of psychologist, I'm just telling you from my experience, but anxiety, from what I've seen, is a marker. It's a sign to show you that there is a door that you need to blow through, right? There's an obstacle that you need to run straight at, right? There's something that you need to deal with now, right? You need to stare that thing in the face and go after it and solve it and figure it out and go through it for many reasons. One, it's a roadblock, most likely, right? It's a roadblock. So if you've gone through something kind of, traumatic or whatever you want to call it, like I did with the whole stage, memory that I'm telling you about, You need to get past that so that you can continue to grow and do the things that you want to do. But in some cases, the anxiety you're feeling is because you're pushing yourself into a new area where you're growing, and maybe you're not good at something, you don't feel comfortable about doing something, but you got to blow through that thing, man. You got to get through that, face it, and push past it and get over it, right? Because it's going to stop you from moving forward. So I guess I'm kind of 10 minutes into this thing already, but I wanted to take a look at the definition of anxiety, right? Dictionary.com says the definition of anxiety is distress or uneasiness of mind caused by fear of danger or misfortune. One more time. Distress or uneasiness of mind caused by fear of danger or misfortune. That is so true. So true, right? And that's exactly why I'm telling you, you got to face this thing head on, right? You got to face it head on, look it straight in the eye. Don't try and run from it. Don't try and sugarcoat it. Don't try and entertain it away, because too many times people start feeling anxious and they try to self-medicate, right? Whether you smoke a little bit of weed, or you do a little bit of painkillers, or you drink a little bit of something, or you binge Netflix for 8 hours to try and 5 hours or whatever to try and entertain yourself from feeling away from feeling anxious, or you go out and you start you call a girl up, you have some fun or something like that, or whatever it might be, you try and soothe that away instead of just facing it. That is a marker. That anxiety that you're feeling is trying to tell you something. And if you're looking at it right now like it's a negative thing, and like I said, in the context that I'm talking about, what I've learned is it's actually a really good indicator. It's an indicator that you're coming up against something that you need to break through. You need to face it, dead in the eyes, and push through. And you got to figure out, what is it that I'm struggling with? What is it that I'm feeling anxious about? What is it that's making me, my pulse race and making me a little hot and sweaty, and what's going on? It's giving me that feeling in the pit of my stomach. What is it, right? And you got to figure that out and look it straight in the eye and work through it, and then blow by it, right? Because when you start learning that anxiety, it's nothing more than a feeling. You feel this fear of missing out, or this fear or this envy of another person's success, or whatever it might be, and you feel this fear that your life isn't going to be more than what it is, or whatever it might be that's making you feel anxious. If you stop there, it'll always be a negative thing. But what I've come to learn is, and like I have said this already, but I want to say it again, it's a marker. It lets you know that you're about to break through to another level, but you need to face it, right? And when you face it, a lot of issues in your life are going to disappear. They're going to start going away that were caused from this. Like I said, whether it's you're just distracted heavily. All you do is play video games, or all you do is binge Netflix or watch TV, or do too much drugs or drink or whatever it might be. You're gonna see that go away when you deal with it, when you face it, right? And so I wanted to talk about a few different things. One, just for the sake of this conversation, I wanted to go over what the definition of procrastination is. You'll see why. The definition of procrastination is the act or habit of procrastinating, no duh, right? Or putting off or delaying, especially something requiring immediate attention. Okay? So just remember that. We're going to come back to that. I'm going to go ahead and give you 4 steps and a few other additional tips of what to do when you start feeling anxious. Something that's going to help you through it, right? Something that's going to help you learn how to deal with anxiety, and learn that it is not as big and scary as it seems, or as we make it out to be, right? So number 1, the moment you feel anxious, when you feel anxious, I want you to stop, right? Because when you're starting to feel anxious, your heart might start racing. a little bit. You might get a little sweaty, you might a little hot, you might, start looking around, fight or flight might kick in or whatever it might be. What you need to do is just be self-aware in that moment that you're getting anxious, right? Just know that I'm in a state of being that I wasn't in 5 seconds ago, right? So I need to take a breath. I need to cool it down. I need to stop for a second, and I need to take a look at my surroundings and what might be causing this. And then what I got to do is, once I've kind of settled my nerves and settled it, immediately I need to think, why am I feeling anxious? What has caused me to feel anxious, right? Is it I'm scrolling through Instagram and I'm seeing all these people live lives that that I'm envious of, and I feel like I should be living? Or is it somebody's success? I just heard my friend or my sister or my brother or my aunt, my uncle, yada, 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 just got a promotion or some good thing happened to them, or they just won something or whatever, and all of a sudden I feel anxious about my life? Like, right? Is it that I have a deadline of something that I'm supposed to complete, but instead of holding myself accountable, I'm over here on the couch watching Netflix, or I'm down the YouTube or social media black hole, and and I'm going to rationalize why I won't get it done and that it'll be okay? Is that why I'm feeling anxious? Is it because I've been wanting to launch something that I should have launched last year, the year before, month before, a week ago, and now it's still not done, and now I'm looking and I'm holding myself in a light that isn't good because I have not gone and launched that thing? It could be so many different things, but you got to stop and figure it out right then. What is it that I'm feeling? What is the trigger that caused that anxiety? Right? What's the trigger? And then you want to go ahead, and I'm telling you, this is so important, because if not, you're going to run in circles and you're going to keep running into your rear end, and it's just going to be bad, man. It's just going to be bad. Write it down, or make a voice recording, put it in a journal, do something, write it down, right? So and it's physically on paper, it's out of your brain, and it's somewhere physical that you can see. Now you have a target, right? Write it down, put it somewhere, speak it out, put it somewhere where you can actually see what it is that's bothering you, right? Write it down and take a moment to think, okay, right now I'm singing on stage, at my church for the first, this is my first time singing on stage, and I'm feeling super anxious. Well, why am I feeling anxious when I've sang on stages, tons of times, right? Oh, well, maybe it's because it's been a few years since I performed. Oh, yeah, it could be a few years since you performed. No, well, let me dig a little deeper. Oh, you know what? It's that one time that, I got laughed off the stage or whatever because my voice went out at 15 seconds into a song. So that's the issue I got to deal with, that I got to face. You got to go to the root. Don't just stay surface level. Write it down, right? Figure it out. And then the next thing you want to do, right, is, let me see what I got. Number 2. So number 1, when you're feeling anxious, stop, think about it. Think about why you're feeling anxious. Write it down. Go below the surface level. Number 2, I want you to ask yourself this question. I asked this to somebody, and I saw the light bulb flash in their eyes. And I've asked this to myself. It's a very tough question. It's a really tough question, but it's very important. You got to ask yourself, what is it that I want? How do I want my life to be? Right? What is it that I want? If I told you to tell me exactly how your life would look if you were to snap your fingers and have the life that you wanted, what would that be? Right? Because a lot of times, a lot of people say, "Oh man, that's my best life right there. That's the life I want to live. That this person's living it." Blah blah blah, and you can't even give me in detail what it is that you want in your life. Right? Oh, I want cars, and I want a house, and I want my mortgage paid off, and I want yada yada. No, that's surface level. What is it that you want? Right? Go into detail about exactly what it is that you want in your life that's going to make you happy, right? Because once you start knowing where you want to go, it's going to bring some peace in your life, right? In the form of you actually have a direction, right? So in the case of this anxiety, I'm gonna stick with I'll go with the procrastination. If I'm anxious because I'm procrastinating, and I haven't launched my podcast, and then I saw somebody else launches a podcast or whatever it might be, or I launched a channel and somebody else launched a channel, or I was supposed to get into modeling or something, and somebody else I just saw started modeling, and they're doing, they started off awesome, or whatever it might be, and that's caused me anxiety, right? I'm feeling anxious for that lifestyle. Okay, so is that something that I want from my life long term, right? Is that something that if I were successful, is that where I want to be? Because if it's not where I want to be, right? If maybe, like I launched Mind of Mateo and it's doing okay, and this other person has a great podcast, but it's on a completely different subject or a completely different topic, or it's something like nothing even close to do with the kind of podcast and content that I'm doing, and they're doing super successful, and I'm feeling anxious about that. I'm feeling anxiety. It's like, bro, I don't even want the same, trajectory that they're going. You know what I mean? That's great. We may have two podcasts or whatever, but I don't want my life to be the way that their life is going. You know what I mean? So you gotta know where it is that you want to go. I'd say number 2, ask yourself, what do you want out of your life? What do you want your life to be? If you could fast forward and get to the end already, where is it that you'd want to be? Right? That's the second thing I'd ask yourself in that time of reflection. And then the third thing is, now that you know what's making you feel anxious, and you're starting to put a vision together of how you want your life to be, and it doesn't have to be super in depth. You don't have to have all the answers, but give some detail, right? The third thing I want you to do now is I want you to start reverse engineering it, right? Because the next thing that causes anxiety is having this big grandiose life, or this big grandiose vision, or grand dreams, or whatever, right? And it's so big and you have no idea how to get there, and you just start feeling anxious because you don't even, it feels so far away. It feels so far away that you don't know how you're going to get there, and you'll never get there. No, just reverse engineer it. And you don't even need to know a lot for this step. I'm just going to be honest with you. You really don't need to know a ton. You don't need to be a professional. No, this podcast, I've learned so much since starting it of all the things that I needed. But in my thought process, it was, I need to launch a podcast, right? I want to launch a podcast. I feel like I've got something to say. I got to go ahead and say it. Okay, well, how do I do it? Okay, let me reverse engineer this thing. Well, I need a place to host the podcast, right? Okay, so I need some kind of hosting. All right, so I got the hosting, right? Well, what's before the hosting? Well, I mean, what hosting matter if I don't have any content, right? So I need a camera, right? Okay, cool. Well, I have the camera. Well, I mean, camera don't matter if I don't have any footage, any place to edit the footage. Okay, so I got the software and stuff, and you can mix and match and put in any order, whatever that might be, that you need to do. But I've just given myself 3 things that I need to accomplish to get to the goal of launching the podcast. Now, all of a sudden, this big grandiose task, this big, huge task that I feel like that I might have been anxious about a few minutes ago, has been chunked into bite-sized pieces, and I can start working on that. And you're going to come across things that you weren't planning for, right? Because you don't know everything. You're new to this. That's fine. That's completely fine. You don't need to know everything, but you are able to take care of it as you go, and you break things down into segments instead of trying to take this huge big bite and do it all at one time. You take little bites and get it across and get down to it, right? Work backwards from the solution. Figure out where you want to go, then start to figure out how you're going to get there, right? And then number 4, I'll say, now that you have some sort of semblance of a plan, no matter how bad, no matter how faulty that plan may be, don't give yourself an excuse. Look at that plan and start now. Don't wait. Don't wait. I'm telling you, don't wait, because you know what? Waiting is going to just breed more anxiety. You give too much wiggle room to yourself, right? You give yourself too much opportunity for that anxiety to happen again, and for you not to do whatever it is that you're supposed to do, right? And that goes back to that procrastination. It's the putting off or the delaying of facing what's making you anxious or going after that goal or whatever it might be, something that requires immediate attention. It's urgent. That's why you're feeling anxious, right? It's the waiting. You're just giving yourself opportunity to be more anxious. So don't wait. Start. So I'm gonna go from the top again, real quick. Number one, feeling anxious. Stop and think about it. Figure out what's the cause. Go beyond the surface level. Get to the root of it. Write it down. Record it. Do something so that you know what it is that you're going after. Right. Number two, ask yourself, what is it that you want? What's the kind of life that you'd want to live? If you got to the end of wherever it is you're trying to go, where are you trying to go, and where is the end of it, right? Where is your success? Where is it that you want to be for your life, right? And then number three, reverse engineer that sucker, right? Start from the end and work your way back to where you are right now. And you're going to find ways, you're going to find steps on how to get there. And you take this big old thing that, this big old dream that you thought was so far away and so crazy, and you start giving yourself actionable items. And you can actually move on it. No matter how little you know, doing something is always better than doing nothing 99% of the time, because you're going to learn along the way, right? And then number four, no matter how bad the plan you think it is, no matter how faulty the plan is or you think it is, start. Don't wait. Get it done. Go for it. Now. Don't wait. Don't procrastinate. Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't let your low self-image stop you from becoming the person that you are meant to be, that you want to be, right? That you should be. Don't wait. Start now. I've said it in my other videos. A few little quick tips because we're starting to hit that 30-minute mark, and I want to keep this thing under 30 minutes if possible. I'd say once, going through steps 1, 2, 3, and 4, you also want to research, educate yourself, and make adjustments when necessary. Don't just think your first plan is the best plan. It's not going to be the best plan. You want to stick to it to some degree, but you want to pivot and you want to adjust and you want to move forward with the things that you learn along the way, right? Because you're going to be learning more when you're in it than when you started. Another little quick tip, stop comparing yourself to others, man. This one I struggled with a lot. Let me put the past tense on there. But it just doesn't make sense, because the amount of variables of what you've gone through, who you are, and the things that you bring to the table, and the variables of the other person, there's just way too many variables. It'll never be the same. So you can't compare yourself, because the inputs aren't the same, so you can't expect the same output. You see what I'm saying? So you got to stop comparing yourself to others. If you're going to compare yourself to anyone, compare yourself to yourself the day before, right? Compare yourself to yourself the day before and be competitive with yourself, because at that point, all you got to do is get 1% better than the person you were the day before, and you win. Right? And keep doing that, and it's a win-win situation. And then once you start getting along and you're moving forward in your industry or whatever it is, your career, your market, whatever it is, you start getting some competition. Great, you can go through and have competition and all that. But when you're starting out, man, just compare yourself to yourself. Stop comparing yourself to others. Don't get fixated in that trap, because what you're seeing on Instagram is just the highlights of everyone's life. Ain't no one gonna put the bad parts of their life up on Instagram, man. You're just seeing the highlight reel. You're seeing NBA top 10 dunks. You're not seeing the balls getting stripped and blocked and fumbled and all that kind of stuff. You're not seeing all that. So don't get caught up in all that. Next one, remove all distractions. Stop it. Just stop trying to self-medicate yourself with entertainment. It ain't going to work. You're just going to feel awful. You're going to waste a lot of time. You're going to get unhealthy sitting on the couch and eating junk food and all that kind of stuff. There's a time and a place for entertainment, but remove the distraction. Value your time more than that. Another quick tip. This one, I'm still working on this one myself, but you got to stop looking for instant gratification. Anything worth doing in life takes some time, and it takes a lot of effort, at least from what I've seen. And so it's stop trying to give yourself an out or an excuse to quit. or stop doing something, just stop it. It takes time. It may take a few months. It may take a year. It may take a few years. But if it's worth it for you and if it's attainable, what does it matter if it took you 5 months or a few years? If you get there, that's what matters, right? Because that's what you want. Stop trying to rush things. I'm not saying don't be efficient and try and collapse timetables, right? Try to do something that would take you a year, do it in a few months or a month or whatever, right? No, that's fine. But stop looking for an excuse to quit, to say, oh, well, I never should have started this in the first place, or this is why I don't do these kind of things because it doesn't bring anything. No, it takes time, man. It just takes time, and you can do it. I'm telling you. And then the last one, I don't want you to get me wrong. Oh man, we hit 30 minutes. Oh, I gotta get better at that. I'm gonna get better at that, guys. I want to keep these short and concise so that way you get as much value as you can, and then you go out and you act and you do. But the last tip I will say is stop trying to balance everything. Right? Because that can bring a lot of anxiety, is feeling like, well, I don't want to work more than 40 hours a week because what about my personal life? What about my significant other? What about this? Or, I got to go on X amount of vacations a year because if not, then I'm not living my, life. My life isn't balanced, or, put in X, Y, or Z, whatever it might be, right? Don't stop trying to have everything be perfectly balanced. Because our perception of balance a lot of time is going to be off. And what do I mean by that? There's going to be times when your thing that you're going after, right, that goal that you're going after, is going to require a lot of effort. There may be some weeks where you need to put in over 40 hours. You may need to put in 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100-hour work weeks, right? There's going to be, man, I'm just telling you right now, there's going to be weeks. If you're going after something worth getting, it's going to be hard, and there's going to be weeks where it's going to tip the scale, and you're going to be putting in what seems like a way more effort in one category of your life. But just know that's fine for a period. And I guess you could say the balance is in tipping the scale back the other way. So if you have to go in hard on your work life and on a few of your goals, and your personal life or your friends or whatever needs some attention and love, well, now you got to tip the scale back. You know what I mean? You got to put an effort and a priority on spending time with your loved one or your friends or your family or whatever it is. And kind of, it's kind of like riding a seesaw. You got to balance the scales. And that's where I would say that's what I would say would be to finding balance. But I hope this has helped you guys a lot. I hope this episode has really kind of broken down, that I was able to break down anxiety and how to handle it when you feel it in your life, in the context of what I've been speaking about here, like procrastination, or like, maybe a traumatic experience or two, as far as like, the thing that I was talking about when my memory with the stage and that experience and stuff like that, and the performing. And I just hope that it's been able to bring you some sort of knowledge that empowers you, right? Because you will see very easily how paper thin those anxieties are, those roadblocks, how small they are. And once you break past them, you're going to see how much potential and greatness lies right beyond it. And once you see that anxiety really, it's a marker of something that you need to take care of now, instead of it being a really bad thing. It's just letting you know, look, I gotta give a little bit of priority in this area right here. I gotta take a look at what's going on right here, what's giving me this emotion. And it gives you an opportunity to grow. It gives you an opportunity to overcome. It gives you an opportunity to conquer, right? So go forward. Create the life you want to live. You can do it. Start now. Don't settle. I love y'all. Have a great one. And until the next time.